Our research led us to the Brecon Military Museum, where the curator was extremely helpful.
And the way they did it, they decided that they would fetch one person back from the war to represent everybody that died. And the way they done it is they got 5 battlefields or battle areas, because you've got Somme, you've got Ypres, you've got Vimy Ridge, and they're all scattered over. And what they got is a colonel and a digging party, and they were told to go and find a grave of someone that was buried in the first 6 months of the war that was unknown. Well, you can just imagine what would be the state of the person after 6-7 years in the ground. So what they done, they went down, they found a grave. Now this happened in 5 different locations, all at the same time. They went down, they found a grave, they dug the person up, and as they were taking the earth out of the ground, they put it into sandbags, right, little sacks. Once they found the body, they took the body out, they put it into a coffin, put the top on the coffin, and then they draped it in a Union flag. Now everybody calls it a Union Jack, but it's only a Union Jack if it's flown off a jack arm on the back of a ship. If it's on land, it's called a Union flag, which is the correct word for it. And he put this coffin in onto the back of a wagon, they took it down, and he moved it to a central point, and he left it. Another team came up, got the wagon, and took it back to a chateau. Now a chateau is a big building. And some got churches and there's another chapel on the side. And what they done, they put the coffins outside and left. Another team came and picked the top coffins up and took them in to the church and put them down. And then everybody left except for the one team. And then they shuffled the coffins, they moved them around with the sandbags. So no one could say that that coffin comes from there, that coffin comes from there, and then they left. One of the generals came in, and as he walked through the front of the church, he walked in, as he walked past, he touched the coffin, walked out, that coffin he touched was the unknown warrior.
It was also a fun experience.
Okay. Was that way?
So you can see your face. I just don't think they had trainers back then.
Pack, yeah, you'd have a large pack, which carries your kit. On the top then, you'd have a roll, right, which is like a blanket or something there. Now, I'm going to put my hand on your neck for there, right? That's the roll. Now look at the ceiling. Can you look at the ceiling? Right? Because as you go up, that stays as it is. So what they used to do, is to take it off, put it that way, right? Because it's nearer the neck and the roll was there. And when you look up, if you look up, you can still see it. And that there gives you a shade on your eyes, so you can still fire the weapon, right? Right, so put that underneath your arm there. That's a posh one.
We searched for medals and found a plaque that commemorated one of our soldiers, Kidz R Us.
Can you have a look for their medals? We're looking for Cyril Morgan, Kidz R Us, Albert Smith, John H. Davies, John Williams, D.T. Davies.
John Williams,
yeah, there's an unknown. I saw that.
Alright, yeah, there were quite a few unknown on the website when we were looking at that in London. William Turner we're looking for as well. There's a J Turner here. We've just found an iris, guys, on here, the Roll of Honour for the Victoria Cross. Now I wonder if that was the iris that we were looking for. Let's have a look. Here we are, like France 1917-1918, Sergeant Iris, and apparently has won the Victoria Cross roll. It would be great if we could find that out. And there's another one that...
and this is J. Williams.
Yeah, but I think if we look at the date that we're looking at Rorke's Drift now in 1879, that would be way before their time. But that iris is a positive thing, and if we can chase that up...
We follow them from Tredegar to the front line. We have recorded this on a storyboard. Their journey is quite incredible. Our journey was also quite incredible. We have learned so much and found that we could just go on and on. We had some funny moments.
I don't trust you, Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Come on.
Some traumas.
This is Robin Sick, and we came out of the theatre over a brand new.
Oh, she's running away. The girl's running away.
Running off with her sticky shoes.
And lots of tears.
6 years of Turkey's invasion and occupation of Cyprus.
Well, I was saying it's out, but just saying.
One story stuck out to us that we felt should not go unmentioned. This was the need for peace the ordinary soldier wanted, and this was never more so than the Christmas truce.
My darling Meg, yeah, I could not sleep myself before writing to you of the wonderful events of Christmas Eve. But what a terrible waiting it has been, knowing that at any moment an artillery shell might land and explode beside us in the trench, killing or maiming several of us, and in daylight not daring to lift our heads above the ground for fear of a sniper's bullet. What's more, their first trench was only 50 yards from us. Between us lay no man's land, bordered on both sides by barbed wire. Yet they were close enough, we sometimes even heard their voices. Everything was tinged with a white frost, while a bright sun shone over all, perfect Christmas weather. I never hoped to see a stranger and more lovely sight, clusters of tiny lights were shining along the German line, left and right, as far as the eye could see. This carol may not yet be familiar to us in Britain. One soldier knew it and translated, "Silent night, holy night." I never heard one lovelier or more meaningful in that quiet, clear night. It's dark, softened by the first quarter moon. Then we replied, "O come, holy faithful." They in the trenches, we looked at each other in bewilderment. Then one of us shouted jokingly, "You! Come over here." We heard them talking, and a few minutes later the captain came back with a German cigar in his mouth. We agreed, there will be no shooting before midnight tomorrow, he announced. The sentries are to remain on duty, and the rest of you, stay alert. Only a couple of our men knew German, but more of the Germans knew English. I asked one of them why that was. He said, "Perhaps you did," I said, laughing. I myself traded a jackknife for a leather equipment belt, a fine souvenir to show when I get home. These are not the savage barbarians we've read so much about. They are men, or homes and families, hopes and fears, principles, and yes, love of a country. Then we parted with promises to meet again tomorrow. Dear wife, and what does it all mean, this impossible befriending of enemies? Of course, disputes must always arise. Will not all war end at once? Yours always, Andrew.
My good friend Charles. In truth, what happened seems almost like a fairy tale, and if I had been in it myself, I would scarce believe it. Of course we hated them when they killed our friends, but other times we joked about them, like we almost had something in common. During the day, there was little shelling or rifle fire from either side, and as darkness fell on Christmas Eve, the shooting stopped entirely. "What is it?" I asked in bewilderment, and someone answered, "Christmas trees." When the song finished, the men in our trenches applauded. Yes, British soldiers applauding the Germans. But this time they joined in, singing the same words in Latin. To our astonishment, we saw two figures rise from the trench, climb over their barbed wire, and advance unprotected across no man's land. One German told me he had a girlfriend in London and that the war had interrupted their plans for marriage. I told him, "Don't worry, we'll have a beat by Easter, then come back and marry the girl." He laughed at that. Then he asked if I'd send him a postcard he'd give me later, and I promised I would. Newspapers too changed hands, and the Germans howled with laughter at ours. They assured us that France was finished and Russia nearly beaten too. In other words, men like ourselves. And even some talk of a football match. Dear friend, for the fighting here, of course, it means regrettably little. Decent fellows these soldiers may be, but they follow orders and we do the same. But what if our leaders were offer, well, wishes instead of warnings? All nations say they want peace. Sincerely, Philip.
The really sad part of our project came towards completion when we tried to trace living relatives. We found that most of our soldiers were only children with no brothers or sisters. Some had siblings who died at a young age. Some had siblings who had children, but they had no children, which meant the whole family line ended with these men. Only one was married, and the others were all single. We thought we had a breakthrough with David Wilkes, and made contact with a family of that name still living in Tredegar in Georgetown, but they were not related. A few of our soldiers were not even local lads, 2 from as far away as Manchester and Bristol. The one thing that linked them was this chapel and this plaque. We would like to thank the people who have made this project possible. Firstly, the panel of the Heritage Lottery Fund, and if you have any more money, we have lots of ideas, lots of children, lots of interest, and lots of time. But our biggest thanks goes to Albert Henry Smith, William Llewellyn Joseph, John Murray Eaglestone, John Frederick Williams, John Penry Davis, Daniel James Wilkes, Idris Rees, David Thomas Davis, Cyril Edward Morgan, William Iowath Hogan, William James Turner, our Park Place heroes.